mightier than the sword.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 3rd Newmarket Town Council business meeting.
Sorry, we're not.
Oh,
That was practice.
that was practice.
Now we are.
Okay.
Technical difficulties beyond our control.
They were showing the empty room downstairs.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 3rd, 2010 Town Council business meeting, and I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a couple of housekeeping items. Councilor Boderman is excused this evening. Erica is not here, so councilors, please make sure you speak into your microphones because she'll be doing the minutes off the DVDs. And item number 4 on the agenda is going to be moved to the workshop. So having said that, first order of business is public hearing, which is receipt of $70,000 from Comcast for the iNet connections. Councilors, you should have copies of the postings in the newspaper with your packet. And Mr. Winowski, would you like to?
In the final resolution of the franchise agreement with Comcast that was signed a few months ago, one of the stipulations was that Comcast would make a payment of $70,000 to the town of Newmarket for the settlement of the lack of construction on their part for what is known as the iNet, which connects all of the town buildings together for purposes of data relay and potential video conferencing and things. We have received that money, and therefore the council needs to accept it at this point in time.
Okay. I guess I would entertain a motion and then open the public comment. I'll entertain a motion if someone's willing. Councilman Minitelli?
I'll make a motion to accept the $70,000 payment from Comcast in settlement of the iNet dispute. And should we say the funds will be deposited into the Telecommunications MIS Capital Reserve Fund as part of the motion?
You could do that. I'll speak to it after.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. This is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at 7:03. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 7:03:05. And councilors, any discussions or comment on this? Mr. Winowski, did you have something you wanted to add to this, or?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that we've talked about is, and we have what is the Technology MIS Capital Reserve Fund. And since this money that we received from Comcast was for the purposes of the build-out of the iNet, I'd like the council to consider moving those funds to the MIS Technology Capital Reserve. However, the way that has to be done is it needs to go into surplus, and we need to draft a warrant article at town meeting to appropriate $70,000 from surplus to the Technology MIS account. And that would provide for ongoing support for the various pieces of equipment that the station and technology needs for the future.
Okay. Councilor Dickens?
Is this money also supposed to be used to do the secondary station that's going to be in the civic space?
No, that within the contract itself, there's $7,000 for an origination point at that location.
Okay, so that's separate from the 70,000.
Right.
Okay.
There's 3 separate sets of dollars that the community received. The $70,000 for the iNet, $7,000 for an origination point at the civic space in the mills when that gets developed, and then $70,000 for a second channel station, probably at the school at some point in time.
Okay. That answers that.
What's that? Councilor Quox?
How much money do we have in that reserve fund now?
Off the top of my head, I think that we probably have maybe $10,000, that's all.
There's more than that, there's $40,000 in there now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Bergeron?
What's our average expenditure on these sorts of things?
For telecommunications,
Yearly expenditure, infrastructure, like IT.
well, Doug Poulin, who is the IT guy, a lot of the stuff that we have is new. Recently, we've had a couple of occasions where the station has gone off the air. And I guess people at home were hearing a hum during some of the broadcasts. That piece of equipment has gone down. Comcast has replaced it for us at this point. A dollar figure, we haven't really spent any money in that regard towards new equipment yet, but we're getting to the point. One of the things we want to do is the microphones. We're looking at that. We're looking at some additional cameras so that when we do outside work and things.
Or would it
lighting.
make sense to set this up like a revolving account so that we could always, I mean, this equipment's always getting old and always breaking, right?
Yep, and
Needs upgrades.
by putting it into the capital reserve, it just comes back to the council for appropriation as opposed to us in a revolving fund. We could spend it, to a point where there's nothing there. We'd still have to set up an account, a revolving fund, and that's not, you can't have a revolving fund for telecommunications.
Oh.
They're really restricted to, I think, 3 different items, so
Okay, thanks.
the best place would, at least from my perspective, would be to put it into the capital reserve fund.
That's it?
Yep.
Counselor Dickens?
Now, in the telecommunications MIS, does that mean that we can go out and just buy computers with it? Or is it gonna be limited to the purpose of stuff that deals with more of the, this TV station and those things, like the microphone stuff that so people at home can hear us? Because it seems kind of, I mean, if you look through the budget, there's computers in there for library and other places. I just want to, the people probably also at home are probably wondering if there's an overlap on that MIS budget, or if it's separate for just,
I believe that it basically deals with the telecommunications for the station itself and also for some larger pieces of equipment like servers that we might purchase. They cost approximately $24,000 to get one.
but if you wanted to have a new laptop in your office, it couldn't come out of this budget.
No, we wouldn't take it out of that budget.
Well, it wouldn't take it, but it couldn't. Is there not,
We would have to come before the council to request the money to be
So all
released, but
funds
we
have to be-
wouldn't do that.
it becomes
Yeah.
our call anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Counselor Quarks?
So in other words, I think what Counselor Dixon was asking is, are there restrictions as to what it cannot be spent on?
We'd go back to the warrant article that established it, and that's the guiding
And that
document.
would be the guideline, so we
Yep.
should, okay.
But the council has say. Oops.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We also have a requested amendment to the motion, I believe. Or would you prefer that this
No,
would be?
the motion,
I'll just, the motion, just because Erica's not here anyway, to clarify it, it's to accept the $70,000 and to authorize, I guess, the town administrator to draft a warrant article authorizing the move of $70,000 from surplus to be placed in the MIS account. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So it has, that's the motion, it has been seconded. And at this point, I guess, is there any other discussion? Mr. Winowski, I'll ask for the vote.
Counselor Carr.
Aye.
Counselor Minutелli.
Aye.
Counselor Quarks.
Aye.
Counselor Dickens.
Aye.
Counselor Bergeron.
Aye.
Chairman LaBranch.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Next is a public hearing on receipt of $12,709.76 from State of New Hampshire Department of Health Services for Club Chameleon. Was Jim Morano-Lee's going to?
Yep.
Mr. Hilton, good evening.
This is our 6th time of being able to apply for this money. The only difference is, for the last 5 years, it was for the county, and now the state's taken over that responsibility, so that's why the money came directly from the state and not from the county. They reduced us from $20,000 to $12,709.78, which is a 35% decrease, but we did receive the grant, and we have the money. We'd like you to accept it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this point, I'll entertain a motion. Counselor Dickens?
I'd like to make a motion for receipt of a check for $12,709.76 from the State Department of Health and Human Services for support of Club Chameleon.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, this is also a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing at 7:11. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Discussion on the council. Counselor Quox.
Jim, how is the decrease of about 7,000 and change? Where will you be finding that money to fund what you've been doing all along with Club Chameleon?
I'm glad you asked. We got $5,000 that was from the New Hampshire Charitable Trust, it is an express grant. And we also had another grant that was from the Bank of America. So both the amounts are that's up to flush now at that point in time.
So Club Chameleon won't be in trouble?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good job.
Any other councilors? Mr. Winowski, I'll call the vote, please.
Council Carr.
Aye.
Council Minutelli.
Aye.
Council Quox.
Aye.
Council Dickens.
Aye.
Council Bergeron.
Aye.
Chairman LaBranch.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, thank you, councilors. And thank you, Club Chameleon.
Oh, yeah, Jim would like to give a quick update on the status of the fields.
Sure.
Well, public forum and non-agenda items, perfect.
It'll be very quick. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the lights go on B field. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they go on A field. So not the actual wiring, but the poles will be put in place. Then later on, that will come on. And the field will be handed to us for play on June 1st. That's the day. That's the day we, say play ball. You throw the ball out. So that's an update.
Mr. Hilton, will that mean that the girls softball will be playing at Howcroft Field?
Yes, until June 1st, that's correct. I've been talking to Coach Brown, and he's aware of that. And I've also talked to Jamie Hayes, which is the athletic director, so we're ready for that to happen. We got to do a few things on that field to make sure that we're ready for the high school, but yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilor Dickens?
Can I, when you get their schedule, get it as soon as possible so that I can start, because I'm starting to meet now with my coaches for girls softball so that I can get my rec softball schedule.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, we've had to work it around for 2 years. We'll make a third year out of
sure.
it.
And we're going to take the men and the women completely off those fields, off of Beanie Howcroft, so that'll help you. They'll be making that transition over, and they'll be playing their games from June 1st until the time they get done. So I think that'll help.
Thanks.
Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Okay. I will now open up public forum for non-agenda items only. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, I'll close it. And we'll move on to agenda item number 1, which is the approval of downtown TIF captivated access revenues to tax rolls. Resolution 2009-2010-27, directing that excess captured assets value of the downtown TIF be added to tax rolls. Okay, so I will read the resolution. Town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, by the Newmarket Town Council, Resolution 2009-2010-27, resolution directing that excess captured assessed value of the downtown TIF be added to the tax rolls. Whereas there are 13 more years the town is required to appropriate funds from the downtown TIF to retire the bond on the project, and whereas the project is nearing final completion in the coming months, and whereas RSA 162K:10, Roman 2, Section A, provides for the community to designate the portion of captured assessed value necessary for the retirement of bonds and notes, and the operation and future development of the district. And whereas RSA 162K:10, Roman 2, Section B provides that captured assessed value that is not used for the purpose noted above shall be deemed excess captured assessed value and shall be returned to the tax list. And whereas the council has determined that adequate captured assessed value be set aside on a yearly basis to retire the debt on the bond and for the operation and maintenance of the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the town council hereby directs the assessor to return to the tax rolls all excess captured assessed values that is not required to adequately fund an appropriation of $130,000 for the district's obligations. Given at the Town Council Chambers this 3rd day of February in the year of our Lord 2010. Is there a motion? Councilor Minutali.
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt Resolution 2009-2010-27 as read.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote.
Counselor Carr.
Aye.
Counselor Minutelli.
Aye.
Counselor Quox. Counselor Dickens.
Aye.
Counselor Bergeron.
Aye.
Chairman LaBranch.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Next is the adoption of RSA 40:13V A, indicating the vote tally of the council and budget committee recommendations on warrant articles. There is nothing to be read for this, correct?
Correct. Just for someone to sort of draft the motion.
Counselor Quox.
I make a motion that we adopt RSA 40:3 VA, recording of that vote tally of council and budget committee on warrant articles.
Is there a second?
Aye. I mean,
Second.
Sorry.
Calm down, calm down.
I guess we know how you're voting.
Cat's out of the bag.
Is there any discussion? Okay, I am not going to support this. I will support it going on as a warrant article. But at the present time, I'm having just a difficult time wanting to do this with so little time left to get everything organized. So I will not be supporting this one. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote.
Counselor Carr.
Aye.
Counselor Minutelli.
Aye.
Counselor Quox.
Aye.
Counselor Dickens.
Nay.
Counselor Bergeron.
Nay.
Chairman LaBranch.
Nay. Motion, it
Fails.
fails. 3-3. Should we entertain a motion to put it on the warrant article?
Good.
If someone would like to make a motion to put it on, Counsel Dickens.
Make a motion to put RSA 40:13 VA, recording of vote tally of council and budget committee as a warrant article. Is
Second.
that the way to word that, I
Yeah,
guess?
adopting RSA.
Yep.
Adoption of the RSA. Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Quox.
Why in the world would you want to put something like this in a warrant article? It's so insignificant. The school board already does it. It's laughable. It really is laughable to want to put something as insignificant as this, just to let the public know what the vote is, on a warrant article. And I can't see that there's not enough time to get it done for the next election.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote.
Counselor Carr.
Aye.
Counselor Minutelli.
Aye.
Counselor Quox.
Nay.
Counselor Dickens.
Aye.
Counselor Bergeron.
Aye.
Chairman LaBranch.
Aye. Motion carries 5-1. Okay, final action on fiscal year 2011 town budget. Mr. Winowski, should we go, we've got the insurance numbers and everything, so we've discussed that. There are no changes forthcoming from the CIP. So in essence, there's nothing that's really changed from what we discussed last week.
That's correct.
Other than the addition of what Ms. Benvenuti and,
Yep.
okay. So at this point, I will look for a motion to accept the budget as written. Councilor Minitelli?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget total of $9,540,628, and forward the same to the Budget Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Quox?
I'd like to, we didn't discuss at the last meeting, the position of Julie Glover who's working for the downtown TIF now as an administrative assistant. And just for the public's sake, I'd like to know how many other communities our size has an administrative assistant?
In the first instance, she's not an administrative assistant. She'd be a director of administrative services, as I pointed out on 2 occasions during the budget presentation. There are numerous communities, although I didn't go around and look at what other communities, whether they be our size, larger or smaller. I looked at what the need was that we were trying to accomplish in this community in order to continue to save money, in order to make sure that the policies and procedures that we have are carried out and keep them updated in a timely fashion. As I mentioned, one of the most important things that I heard since I've been here is the whole purchasing policy and ensuring that bids are put out. And Julie Glover has had a lot of experience in that. She did that when she was in Portsmouth. And the whole issue of dealing with human relations, another area that she has a very strong background in. So that's why I propose that.
Okay, so if you could answer a couple of questions for me then. For instance, where are we with the generator that we asked for a year ago?
If you recall, Counselor, the Public Works Director was going to be coordinating that and having discussions with the school district because we were going to move that to
the
the
school,
school as
right.
being the shelter at this point.
Right, but where are we with it?
As far as I know, he's been having conversations with the school district.
Okay, because I just want to let you know, I mean, I spent 5 minutes on the phone, generator connector in Barrington, they've been there for 10 years. Spoke to Don, the Wayner, as Wayne knows. He would be happy to come down and take a look at the generator, at the spot. He is a master electrician. It's a 2-year guarantee on parts and labor, and they wouldn't mind if the town did any in-kind service to put the slab or whatever, and we could probably have an RFP on that within 3 weeks. So that's something that you handed off to Julie Glover, I think, 6 months ago. And also, when she was doing the work downtown...
May I address that?
Oh, sure.
Counselor, we do have an RFP in place, that we don't need somebody else to do an RFP. The question is, the school needs to make a decision as to providing us the opportunity to connect it up, and whether there's going to be some cost sharing there. So it's not necessary to
so
go
we
and...
have
and
it- we
it's
have an
not
RFP
necessary
already?
to have an individual come down here, because, I mean, you're one of the folks, as I recall, that wanted us to have a bid. We have an RFP that we can send out. It's just that, we can't go off and do something to another political subdivision's property without obtaining their permission.
Okay. And basically, too, when she was doing the downtown TIF, she was the consultant for the downtown TIF. She wasn't aware of the fact herself that TIF money could be used for the Riverwalk. So that tells me that she didn't really look into the TIF section, the development program down there. And also, as far as the bids for the purchasing, with Sue Jordan's job cut by about 20 hours a week because we now have Heather working and the direct assistants, I don't see why we couldn't pass that on to Sue to do the purchasing.
Counselor? I
I mean, these are just things that the
But these are
public
things
should
that
know.
don't deal with the
Sure.
budget, first of all.
Well, it is the
Well,
budget. Why should
it
we
is, but-
hire
but you
someone
know-
when we have enough people in
But
town
Counselor,
to do
we
the
discussed
work?
this budget last week. We took a Wednesday evening to discuss this budget. You were present for that meeting.
That's right.
And I asked several times if there were any other questions or issues that they wanted to discuss, and there were none. So why are we bringing it up this evening?
Because I feel like bringing them up this evening. I know that it's not going to change the bottom line. I know the votes aren't there. But I just thought the public should know that we do have other people in the town already that are being paid. There's no need to hire someone else for over $60,000 a year, or whatever her salary would be. It is not necessary. You're cutting the code enforcement officer, it's ridiculous. Fine.
Counselor Dickens?
Just want to remind you that we vote on a dollar amount, and it's the Ed's responsibility to determine the personnel decisions that go behind that. And that's what the discussion is, the dollar amount. Because Ed, he can hire and fire pretty much anybody he wants within that dollar amount, if I'm correct. So that's the important thing. And I also don't like beating up employees that work for the town in order to make a point. I think Julie's done a great job, and to say that she's not doing a good job to make your point is not a good thing. So I'd like to move the vote.
Okay. Mr. Winowski, will you call the vote, please?
Counselor Carr.
Aye.
Counselor Minutjelli.
Aye.
Counselor Quox.
Nay.
Counselor Dickens.
Aye.
Counselor Bergeron.
Aye.
Chairman LaBranch.
Aye. Motion carries 5-1. Item 4 is being passed over. It'll be on the workshop. Item 5, old business. And before we get into old business, new business, I just want to make a point that if we're going to talk about personnel during either one of these topics, that counselors should request non-public to do so. So I just want to make that clear. And if you just let me know you want to do a non-public on an issue, I will certainly set it up for the next available meeting. Old business, number 5. Anyone for old business? Counselor Quox.
I just wanted to ask Town Administrator Winowski how he goes about getting everything ready for the capital improvement plan. What was your procedure with the department heads?
They were all notified that they needed to get material to the committee. I appointed Mr. Parnell and Diane Hardy as being my representatives on the committee, and material was provided.
And when was the material provided?
I can't give you the exact date it was provided, Counselor.
Okay. We had a CIP meeting with Thursday with Leo at 3 o'clock, and poor Sean out there was getting beat up a bit, and as he was at the budget meeting prior to that, because Leo felt he didn't have certain things in place, certain requests to include in the CIP this year, which I think would have drastically changed our bottom line. And in the charter, Section 5.7, a capital improvement plan, A, the administrator, with the advice of the planning board, and after consultation with department heads and other boards, shall prepare and submit to the council a capital improvement plan at least 1 month prior to the final date for submission of the budget. And it gives a list of what it should include. And I don't believe you did that. You handed that off to someone else? To
No, Counselor,
Diane?
you have my recommendation within your budget package.
But you didn't
But the budget, you
handle
also,
it
the
yourself.
CIP is also a planning document
Mm-hmm.
that is started by the planning department.
But this isn't the procedure that you followed.
No, but
Okay.
the council adopted a resolution that's established the procedure of the capital improvements plan. And as I said, capital improvements plan is a planning document. The committee met, the committee did its work. They gave
The
a
capital
recommendation
improvement
to
plan, you
me, and I put that recommendation and made different recommendations that were different from theirs which the council had within the time frame that by the charter I was required to provide it to you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Vice Chair Bergeron?
Now on to a lighter subject. In the past, we've discussed perhaps handing out laptops to counselors to minimize the amount of paper that we get. Now I was wondering whatever happened with that.
It sits in my office.
In all honesty, as
It's not a priority in any way, so I don't.
no, but it's something that we can put on future agenda. As a matter of fact, if you've got information stuff you want to do it on a workshop, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, it slipped my mind.
I just remembered it recently. I thought I'd bring it up again.
And that's fine. We started doing it, and, on Thursdays, when we're putting stuff together for the agenda, it's a matter of running things through the scanner. One of the things that we do have with the new printer that we have in the office, we can run everything and send it directly to individuals' desks. And, it's one of the things that I'm going to try to work on, and get, because we've purchased one specifically to use you as sort of the,
Or any counselor who wants to do it. It
Yep.
doesn't necessarily mean, I see other town council meetings on occasion. I see that they're starting to use laptops, and we get a lot of paper, as you know, and not that it's going to be a significant decrease in the yearly
It might
budget
be.
on paper, but it just, it would be, I don't know, it might be a good direction to go into. There's one other thing, but I'm afraid I slipped my mind. I'll think of it in a minute.
All right, if it comes back. Did we ever approve this?
yes.
We
that's
did. Anything else for old business? New business and new agenda items and correspondence. I do have one, and I apologize, I just realized this evening when I was going through my packet that I don't believe that the council has received this. But it's a request to use a municipal parking lot again for the Newmarket Heritage Festival, which is slated for September 24th to the 26th. For some reason, why does it come to us still?
Well,
'Cause-
it's interesting you ask that, because Mr. Chimberg is in charge of the parking lot at this point, and he's the one that needs to grant them the permission, which he already has. And I think that their understanding was that the council still had some control over the parking lot at this point.
Okay, so we really do not have to
Right,
bring this, okay?
right. And I was going to send
Strike that.
Suki a letter
Yes,
regarding that, or
Dave.
David Legault.
All right, so that's all I had. Any other councilors with new business or new agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to town administrator's report.
Just a couple items. First off, one of the things that is required by the charter is the convening of the administrative chairs. And last year, we went through a process where we had an event downstairs, and everybody came before the council. And I'm just looking for some feedback how the council wish to undertake this process at this point. We have the Planning Board, Budget Committee, and Conservation Commission are what are designated as administrative committees within the charter. And there are additional committees themselves that have been established by the council. And I made a quick list: cemetery, downtown Black Bear TIFs, memorial, the Veterans Memorial, the Advisory Heritage, capital improvements, energy, municipal solid waste, and the Main Street Committee. Didn't know of how the council wished to proceed. You want to probably have several of them come in and have a discussion with the council, or do we want to have something where we invite them all into here one day or one evening and have a discussion? I was looking for some feedback on that.
Vice Chair Bergeron?
I think it would be best just to do it all at once, if possible. I don't think most of the presentations are very long. If I remember correctly, the last time, I think there were 5 minutes or less per
Okay.
committee. So I would recommend probably one shot, get it over with, if it's amenable to the chairman's schedule.
Counselor Dickens.
Could we ask them all just to have an outline written up for us ahead of time? And instead of having them give full speeches, just allow us to ask questions of it? That might speed it up drastically. That way we can get, if there's no questions, they don't, you
Have a
just move
dialogue.
on.
Counselor Quox.
I think the chairs would like, of the committees would like to let the public know what they're doing and not just have the councilors know and just ask questions. And like Mr. Dickerson said last time, it didn't take all that much. I mean, Mr. Bergeron, it didn't take all that much time. It was short and sweet. We have less committees this year as well.
Okay, I counted 13. If we were to set up everyone at 10 minutes, and I only say that because I realize some will go over 10, some will be under 10 probably. We could potentially do that on a Wednesday night in a couple
Yeah.
of hours.
Knock it out.
I would be happy to start that meeting a little earlier, maybe at 6:30, so that we can, but try to set up some kind of a time schedule. I don't know if perhaps you could work with it because obviously, I'm taking a look at it and I'm saying planning board, budget committee, they're probably going to take the most amount of time. And the rest may go fairly quickly. So maybe if you could, what I would suggest, if the council would agree with this, is to have the administrator get in touch with these chair people, see how much time they think they would need to present a report to the council. I would prefer to do it right here in council chambers, and understand that for the most part, we're looking for 10 minutes or less.
Okay.
So that we know what they're doing, and if councilors have some ideas or suggestions they'd like to give them, something they'd like to see them perhaps work on in the coming year, that would be a perfect opportunity to do it. So is the council good with that?
Yeah.
Do we want to shoot for the 24th? Which would be a meeting?
I don't have a problem with the 24th. Any other councilors have? I mean, it's going to basically mean that we're still for 4 more weeks here in the meetings. However, this one's going along very well this evening, so. And I think, as Councilor Carr said, I think we can get that done in a couple of hours.
Yeah. Okay.
So, everyone go with the 24th?
Yes.
I'll be on vacation.
Okay.
Yeah. That's school vacation week. You might not get people here.
Usually just the chairs show up.
If there are certain ones, if there's a chair or
Yeah.
vice chair, it's somebody from the committee to represent them and speak.
If we can get 90% of them, the ones that we didn't,
Yep.
we can't get,
Pick up.
we'll pick them up on like the 24th or the 7th, or, the business meeting or whatever, just to get it
Yep.
taken care of. How's that? So we will tentatively put it in there, and Mr. Winowski, if you can try to set up some kind of a schedule
The 24th.
for the 24th, yeah. And tentatively 6:30, so we can have an early evening on it,
Will do.
okay? Continue, sir.
The other thing that I have is, last year, or I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, the town sent a letter to our congressional delegation in Washington, asking them to support an appropriation in the federal budget for the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. And we've been asked to provide a letter of support again this year there's a $1 million appropriation in the Parks Fund, or the Parks budget. If the council is agreeable to have the chair sign a letter, I put the letter together asking Senators Gregg and Shaheen and Representatives Hodes and Shea Porter to support an appropriation at this time that would be used for the Lamprey River and its monitoring and support as a wild and scenic river.
Okay. What I would ask the administrator to do is if you can make sure that each counselor would receive a copy of that letter, just so that they'd know what I'm signing off on, and if no one has an issue, I'll sign off as soon as you've got them. Okay, I take it I gotta sign off on several of them, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get them ready, and I'll stop in and sign off.
And that's all I have.
Counselor Fox.
The bill that was just passed, the green, what is it, the green?
Evergreen clause?
Evergreen clause. Is there any activity with the municipalities, with town councils and administrators getting together and petitioning the legislation to overturn that? Because that's gonna wreak havoc. I mean, is anything being done regarding that?
I think I'd have to check with the local government center. They may have found some people to support that. There's a lot of support for that in the legislature to keep it, fighting an uphill battle. But I'll touch base with the folks at the local government center and see if there's a specific bill.
And could we possibly get the language to that bill as a council and ask our legislators to be here and to discuss it with us? And I'd like to know how they voted on that. I'd just be curious. Because it's really going to affect a lot of the bottom dollar of a lot of municipalities.
Yes, it is.
And this way the public will know exactly what it is. We won't go into it now. And could we set that up for our next workshop?
Yeah, very easily.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Winowski, you're all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We do have a non-public this evening. So I'll look for a motion to go into non-public. We will be discussing negotiations.
Oh, okay.
We'll be discussing negotiations and legal. Two legal issues. So if I could get a motion to go into
91E.
non-public. Councilor Minutali?
So moved.
It's 91E, is that correct?
Yes.
91A3:2 subsection E, you said?
That is correct.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.